You feeling stuck lately? Like life's passing you by? Get to know M.A.Y.A.
Acronym My Ambition, Your Ambition.
Reconnect with your dreams, your goals, your ambitions. Find your motivation and start to live the life you desire. Explore the M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition podcast at M.A.Y.A.com.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. This is episode 31. Moving along nicely, being consistent, which is great for me. But I'm excited because this is one of those episodes that is conversations you hear the term energy thrown around loosely. But I wanted to have a real conversation about what the word energy really means so you understand the power that it has and the purpose. Hence, M.A.Y.A episode 31 is the purpose and power of energy. I want to make sure you understand that. So with that being said, of course, welcome to the podcast where I like to say that I'm forward thinking about salient topics, kind of tackling things about mental wellness that works into all those domains. You know, the mental health, obviously, professional realms, personal realms, but more importantly, the relationship you have with yourself, because that's what M.A.Y.A is really all about, is getting to that best version of you, pulling back that veil of self-doubt and sabotage that plagues so many of us. We are often the ones that keep us from achieving the things that we really seek to have in life, that daily happiness, that best version of ourselves daily. Everything about 2021 is about not just the best version of you. It's not just about happiness. It's about the daily endeavors that go into being the best version of you daily, having happiness daily. Because if you can quantify it, if you can do it daily, you get quantity, then the quality of your life improves and you can be that best version of you or have happiness. So that's what M.A.Y.A is all about. Of course, if you are a first-time listener or viewer, welcome. Buckle up for safety. Not that obviously it's not safe here, but sometimes the ride can get a little bumpy. I may say something and you may have an aha moment, something you've never thought about or even considered. Well, if you're a returning listener or viewer, then you know the routine. You know what to expect. I always say grab a pen, paper, jot down something, if it kind of resonates with you so you can go back and reflect on it. Now, remember, let's do our housekeeping things really quickly. You can always find previous episodes of M.A.Y.A at M.A.Y.A.com because by now, obviously, there are 30 other episodes that lead up. And I like to believe, not intentionally, each of these episodes are very intertwined. I did not intentionally kind of lay out the landscape of the episodes that way, but each week I find the next conversation from the previous podcast. So you can always go to M.A.Y.A.com and you can listen to previous podcasts. Most podcasts at this point have companion materials that you can also find at M.A.Y.A.com. Go to the podcast resource section, just click on the episode, and I have some additional things that you can read to help you reflect a little deeper into what the episode covered. Hopefully by now you have subscribed to my YouTube channel. You can find me at M.A.Y.A.Kai. When you put that in there, I'm going to keep saying this, a whole bunch of Japanese anime stuff's going to pop up first. And then you're going to get down to me. And then you got the right place. Click subscribe, share with others. I greatly appreciate it. Other ways you can find episodes of M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. You can always go to your favorite podcast platform. So if you happen to be a person who likes iTunes, Google, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Amazon Audibles, you can pretty much find me there. Just search M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition. You got to make sure you put the M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition, and boom, you can find me on those podcast platforms. I'm assuming by now, if you're watching me on Facebook, then you probably have gotten social with me. But just in case you haven't, I would ask that you do. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at M.A.Y.A_Akai and Facebook at M.A.Y.A Akai Presents. So that's all the ways that you can get social with the show and share the show. Because you may not get something from an episode, but you never know, somebody else might get something from it. A lot of people have come back to me in some different episodes and said, you said something that made me reflect on something I really wasn't considering. I didn't look at it that way. You gave me a new perspective. Because remember, perspective and perception, by the way, that is an episode, is everything. And they kind of dug a little deeper and managed to resolve an issue that they had, that they were really kind of struggling with. Because, mental health is not sexy. Mental wellness is not sexy. It only becomes a pivotal point for people when it's an issue. And I want people to, one, get past the stigma that caring about your mental wellness, you shouldn't wait until you're in dire straits. You should be taking care of yourself on a daily basis and really reflecting on what makes you happy. What do you want to get out of life? What kind of person do you want to be? You want to be congruent, who you want to be and who you project to the world. You want to make sure those things are congruent. Only you can do that. So key things about Maya, my ambition, your ambition is I want to pull away that stigma about mental wellness and have people take care of themselves before they get into a bad situation, because chances are, not always, but it's highly likely that if you put the time and effort into when you're in a better space, when you do get into dire straits, you tend to be able to navigate those waters better. That's what it's all about here. Okay. Before we jump into episode 31, the power and purpose of energy, of course, we have to bring on M.A.Y.A, our musical muse of the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right. So how are you on, I'm not sure what the weather is like there in Colorado, but in Chicago, it's fabulous. It's sunny, a slight chill, but it's brisk and it feels good. So we've had a shift in weather here. So it's beautiful. How is it there?
Well, it was gorgeous for the past couple of days, but I woke up today and it's cold again. So
okay, what's cold?
A little sad.
What's cold?
I don't know. I haven't even checked the temperature, but it's like it's got that like fog around it, you know, like one of those cold mornings, but just all day.
Okay.
If you know what I'm talking about. Here,
okay. Well,
it's 31. It's 31 degrees.
Oh, see, in Chicago, like that's like great weather to us for the winter time. So, and we're sitting anywhere in 30 degrees. We're like, this is fantastic. Yes. So
it was like 50 the other day. So that's why it was.
Yeah.
So.
We had a week where we kind of flirted with getting up to 50. I think we hit 50 one day. Everyone was like wearing shorts and jackets, and now everybody's sick because you know they got too excited about the situation.
Yeah.
But okay, so I guess if you're used to more 50s, then I guess 30 could be a little colder than you think. Other than that, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I was talking to you earlier how I was just feeling a little buzzing today. My energy's up there just because I have so many things I have to get done, but it's nice. I have my tea. I told you I have my tea with me. Hashtag energy. Yes.
There you go. Yes. You know, I always encourage you to bring your beverage of choice. I'm doing green. I'm doing green tea today. I'm working the energy because green tea is good for energy. So.
Yes, very true. I do not need any more caffeine right now, so I'm definitely going herbal.
You're like, I'm going herbal. I'm cutting back on the caffeine.
I was like, I can't do it. Not today.
Hey, you know what? You are in command of what you do. So if you know if you got to cut back on your caffeine, so be it.
I know what I can handle, and it's not. I can only do decaf coffee anyway. Like I can't do actual coffee. It's too much.
You know, I could probably do decaf coffee and it wouldn't matter because I don't get. Some people drink coffee and get jittery. I could drink a cup of coffee and go to bed.
Yeah. No.
So I could probably do decaf and it wouldn't matter one way or the other. I just drink coffee and don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to see you on the back end of the show, performing your final single off of your 5-song EP, Heart of Gold.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. I did take a listen to it. I was like, I'm like, this resonates with me.
Yeah. You like it? Yeah.
It brings in something I'm very passionate about. So I was like, oh, well, this works for me.
Yeah.
I mean, this works for me. All right. Well, we'll see you on the back end and we'll play the song and talk a bit more about it then.
All right. I'm excited.
All righty, everybody. That is Miriam McQueen. She is the M.A.Y.A musical muse here. Make sure you follow Miriam. You can find her on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. It's Miriam McQueen. It's pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science. You can go to her website, miriammcqueen.com, and find her music. She does original music as well as covers. So for the past several weeks, we have been covering her new EP, Heart of Gold. There's 5 songs, and this is the final song from the EP, and we'll play it on the back end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned the whole time so you can hear Miriam's song. I like it. It works for me. It's energetic, and it's about, and that plays into the theme today about energy. So what do we do before we start every single episode of M.A.Y.A? We have to have our tool time moment. There'll be 2 in the show today, but this one you should know by now. You should be able to rehearse this with me. It's about taking out your emotional intelligence. I'm going to keep saying it until at some point someone says, M.A.Y.A, we get it. EI, your emotional intelligence, has to be out during your show, but wait, it should really be out 24/7. No matter what I'm doing, I should be using my emotional intelligence, which is your ability to perceive, control, and evaluate your emotions. And let me tell you, it plays out into every aspect of everything that you do, and people tend not to get it. So part of working to that best version of yourself daily is we want to put into our toolbox, along with emotional intelligence, is learning how to respond to things opposed to react. Because when you respond, it means you're using your emotional intelligence and you've given your emotional reaction thought, which means you won't have to double back and use it to do cleanup work. When you react to things, that means off the top of your head, whatever feeling or emotion kind of jumps out there, you use it. And it could be good or it could be bad. And it usually means you got some cleanup work to do because you just kind of felt anger and you acted out of anger. And by now, I think everybody should know when you act out of anger, it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing when you act out of anger. So we always have to learn to use our EI to be able to perceive the situation that's going on, control ourselves, not others, and evaluate how that situation is making us feel. Then we decide how to act. That's how you utilize EI, your emotional intelligence. All right, so we can move past toolbox time and we can get into episode 31, which I'm actually really excited about it. You know, it's that kind of thing where when we take into the idea of happiness, which we talked about last week, happiness is the architect of so many things within our respective life. But the power and the purpose of energy, a word that is so easily thrown around, is something that most people don't think about or navigate. So, you know what? I always have to be practical and literal about things when I do the show. Let's just flat out start out and say, hey, well, what exactly is energy? You should know by now, energy, interesting enough, is something that has many forms within the human body. We use energy to do almost every function that the body does. From how you think, it's electrical impulses in your brain. Your heart uses electrical impulses to pump. Energy is a core source of what makes the human species drive, even within our emotions and our thoughts. And that's what's interesting. So you hear the word energy kind of loosely thrown around. I would say maybe you've heard associations, things like, you know, a feeling about something or something has an aura. That's someone kind of referring to the idea of what energy is. So without saying energy, or you might say, I don't like that person's energy. I am so not feeling that. That person's aura is not right. That's a reference point to energy. So when we say those kind of things, what is energy really? You know, I defined it in my description of this episode. It's the emphasis behind all of our emotional and mental activities. And it can be positive and it can be negative. Now, obviously, you want to harness as much of the positive as you can. But real talk, we know that negative vibes, that's another thing about energy, vibes, can also impact our lives. We're not devoid of negativity. It'd be perfect, it'd be utopia, but we know that that's not the case. So with that being said, when we talk about energy, I'm defining it as that impetus behind all of our emotional and mental activities, which is that impetus is like that driving force, that thing that has that unseen influence that guides a lot of your behaviors, actions, thoughts, feelings. That's key. Now, what's interesting about energy, and this might be a little technical, but I think it's important to know it because it weaves its way through the entire conversation. Energy can be created and destroyed in exchanges with others and influenced by environments and situations. So now, if you happen to be a Black Eyed Peas fan, you'll know they have a song that starts out with saying that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. True, because it recycles itself in some form. Especially within you, it recycles itself. So there's a birth and a death to energy within your personal space. But when you interact with others, energy can be created. So have you ever worked in a group of people on a project or something, or you're out someplace and the synergy, another word for energy, so to speak, the vibe is great. You feel like you're getting things accomplished. Everything within this group is moving forward. It feels good. That's the thing about positive energy. It feels good. So the exchange with those people, everyone to that table is bringing something positive and it influences the outcomes. It's the same thing with environments. Have you ever walked into the room and felt really uncomfortable? Not just because you maybe didn't know someone or it was a new environment. There was just something about it that makes you uneasy. Like it's kind of like parking in a dark parking lot late at night and you're the only person left and you got to maybe get out of your car and walk someplace and you feel a little uneasy about it. Not that that's necessarily negative, but if it's an unfamiliar place or if it's maybe a place where the vibe isn't necessarily good or maybe it has a reputation for not being good, then that's an energy that's kind of invading that space. Same thing to be said about situations. If someone you're interacting with is negative and they bring that negativity into, let's say, a situation you have with them, you can feel it coming off of them. That's that kind of energy. Remember Kendrick Lamar has a song, Beep Don't Kill My Vibe? Energy. That's what he's talking about. Like what you're bringing into my space is not working with where I'm trying to be. It's dampening my energy. So energy can be created in positive exchanges, whether it be with people, environments, or situations. And it can also be destroyed. Your positive energy can be deconstructed by other people bringing in their negativity or a situation or an environment being negative. And that's the part when I say that energy can be created and destroyed, that keep that in the back of your mind as we progress through the conversation. Thank you for tuning into the show, Nick Paul. Someone told me they can feel if they're a bad soul. You know, you have some people that are very intuitive. It's empathic, and there are some people are more empathic than others. They can sense what they feel is negativity. They can sense when someone maybe has ill intentions. That's a person I feel that's really in tune to themselves and has very high emotional intelligence. That they're picking up on subtle signals about an energy coming off somebody that they don't particularly care for. We can all say this. Have you not encountered a person and you're talking to them, or here's one better. You never even get into a conversation with them, but all you know is, I don't particularly care for that person. Seriously. And you're like, I have no idea why, because we haven't necessarily had a conversation. We've had no real interactions. I just know there's something about that person that doesn't sit right with me. They always tell you, real talk, follow your gut instinct until you have a different reason to not follow your gut instinct. So if you encounter a person that makes you feel uncomfortable, or there's something within their general actions or behaviors, or the nonverbal cues tell us a lot about people. Don't think that you're being too judgmental. Just kind of stand on the sideline and maybe try to figure out what it is about that person. If you're going to encounter them multiple times, if it's a one-time deal, then it doesn't matter. But if it's something that you're going to be kind of interacting with a person on, multiple occasions, then you might want to try to figure out, what is it about this person energy that I can't get with? And we've all been there, but we've encountered people that we just don't know them, but don't particularly care for them. Hello, Roburn, always tuning into the show and sharing the show. I appreciate that. Welcome to episode 31, the power and purpose of energy. So there's different types of energy. Okay. And this is pretty rudimentary, and it's pretty simple in saying this. I don't think I'm going to say anything that's new, but I think how I define it might give it a bit more kind of form. So for something that's intangible, I'm trying to kind of give it a framework for you. So positive energy, it's intuitively something that feels safe, happy, and relaxed. The vibe is welcoming and open. That's positive energy. So let's say you start a new job and you walk in. People can make you feel good, or they can make you feel like you don't belong. So say you meet that person's like, hey, how you doing? Welcome aboard. I'm so-and-so. They're sending you positive energy. That's a person who is intuitively, they're happy. They're open to you. And that's what we sense with positive energy, whether it be with people, environments, or situations. Do they make you feel, without having to overthink it, safe, happy, relaxed, and welcome and open? You don't think about it. It just naturally comes. Energy is not heavily thought about. It's something that occurs naturally. So the thing is, when you walk into those situations or you meet people, does it feel that way? On the flip side, then you pretty much know that negative energy is just the antithesis, the opposite of that. It's the feeling of insecurity, unhappiness, and tense. The vibe is off-putting, unfriendly. Now, mind you, don't necessarily confuse negative energy with uneasiness. Because sometimes when we're in a new situation and we don't know people, we feel a little uneasy. That doesn't mean it's negative energy. It's the uncertainty of a person, a situation, or environment that's causing us to be a little bit apprehensive. So don't take those kind of things as negative energy unless it's something that keeps kind of reoccurring with that person, situation, or environment. Then you have to say, why is it every time I come here, I feel this way? I'll be honest, if every time you go to work and you're like, I hate this place, because hate, there's an energy to that, a strong one too. Hate and anger are some of the strongest energies that exist. It's amazing to me. It can overcome happiness and joyfulness. It's amazing how hate and anger can just wipe a slate clean, period, and make people feel nothing. Very, very strong feelings and emotions, which we'll get into a second. So don't misinterpret if you feel a little bit uneasy or uncomfortable in something that's new to think that it's negative energy. It might just be the unfamiliar part of it. But if it keeps persisting, then you have to ask yourself, why is this a persistent feeling? Like, I go to work, I don't like it. Then you know that energy is not right in that space for different reasons. Now it's up to you to figure out why it's not the right energy. And it may be about people. It may be about the culture in the workplace that people are just really negative, and you just when you come to work, coming through the door that it's about to be a show. Seriously, you can't wait to punch out and leave. That's energy. That's an energy in an environment, and you know it and you've identified it. You're just choosing to look away. So those are the two types of energy. We're talking about positive energy and negative energy. Pretty much straightforward. Let's have a toolbox time, the second one of this show, because I felt like this was important to distinguish for people in a way, because not that the distinguishing this is extremely important, but it'll give you something to kind of, when you start really trying to analyze energy and the flow of it for yourself, it may put it into better perspective for you. So what's key to know is emotions versus feelings. Because trust me, people use them synonymously, interchangeably all the time. They're very similar, but yet there are differences between the two. Here's the similarity between them. Both are sensations we experience. So it's like, you hear like words like joy, happiness, all kinds of words. And if I was to tell people, could you separate out and tell me which word is actually an emotion and which word is actually a feeling? People would struggle with that. They'd be like, well, aren't they kind of the same thing? Well, yeah, sort of, but not really. So now that we know the similarities between the two is a sensation that you experience, let's talk more about each. So feelings are influenced by external stimuli and can be both physical sensations or a mental state. So for instance, if I was to talk about a feeling, like, first I'll explain both, and then I will give examples of how they parallel each other. So feelings are influenced by external stimuli and can be both physical and mental states, whereas emotions are based on thoughts and beliefs. So believe it or not, emotions are the things that more or less sort of drive your feelings, because you've created a decision, a thought about a certain thing. And then when a situation happens, it elicits the feeling. So can you see the difference between the two? So then if I say that, you probably could separate out things, but it could still be a little hairy. So if I was to give an example of feeling versus emotion. So anger is a feeling, angriness, whereas hate is an emotion. But it can also kind of be a feeling, hating, but hate in itself. Because to hate something, you have to form an opinion for that hate to exist. There's a thought or belief that's created that hate, and hence it may elicit anger from you, if that makes sense, or angriness. On the flip side, let's give something positive, because we gave a negative, so we got to balance this out. It's all about striking the balance. So if we were to talk about happy or love, are very much emotions. But love also can be a feeling, because you can physically feel love. But happy, it may be you've decided the things that make you happy. And then happiness or joy is more of the feeling. So you can get anything that's more of like the physical sensation. You've got some words that walk the line, like love, because love can be used as a noun and a verb. So you've got some things that walk the line, but you get the idea of the sensation. So when we talk about angriness or anger, the physical sensation might be you get warm. Sometimes some people shake. Some people just have a strong sense of just an emotion they can't control. That's the hate piece. So that's to distinguish. Not that at the end of the day that it's absolutely important that you totally be able to distinguish between the two, but when you start to do your analysis of a positive and negative situation you're dealing with and the energy that it creates and or destroys, you may want to stop and say, this is a negative energy for me. What is the basis of the emotion that drives it to be negative? And hence, what is the feeling that it elicits that makes it negative? That's how you would use these two things in an evaluation process to kind of start to really pull apart the layers back when you're looking at energy. I know, who would have thought thinking about energy would be so elaborate of a process, but it's definitely worthy of paying close attention to, especially with yourself as well as others. Though here we talk about everything we do is really focused on what comes from within, but we know what's on the outside does impact what's in the inside. So when you talk about positive and negative energy, I want you to be mindful of what you exude as well as what you absorb. Those things are important. So be mindful of when you enter into a space or interact with people or in a situation, what is the energy you're putting out there? Because your energy you're putting out might in turn make another person feel a certain way, and they may give you some energy back. So now you both got negative energy, but usually they cancel each other out. But in this case, negativity tends to grow. So keep that in mind. Let's kind of move on to a real talk time. Let's have a real talk time. We're going to have one this particular show. This is one that I'm going to stick with that we kind of used a little bit last week. People still feel the whole range of emotions and feelings: happiness, anger, frustration, boredom, loneliness, and even sadness. This is natural and normal. And one thing that I don't care for is that a lot of times when you talk about these things, I'm never going to discount to you that you're not going to experience some negative emotions from people bringing it to you as well as you giving it back. We're imperfect beings. So there might be something that elicits the worst in you. This is why getting a strong command of that respond versus react can definitely help you to be able to harness your energy, that power, because how you use your energy, that's your power. The purpose of it is how you use it with others, and how it then impacts the outcomes of relationships with people or environments that you're in or situations. That's the purpose of being able to know the power, how to harness it and to use it appropriately. But so often when we try to be like rah, rah, rah and give people like these great things, we want to be like, we want to discount the fact that negative and bad stuff is going to happen. No, that's what strikes the balance. In fact, it's usually often through negativity that you experience growth. Be honest, when things sometimes are too positive, you can become stagnant. You can become stuck. You get in that comfort zone and you don't want to come out. And that can become an issue. So believe it or not, there can be an actual purpose for some negative energy. It just can't be encompassing. You can't be in the negative energy bubble, because now we got a problem. That's the thing. You got to limit how much of it you're involved in, but more importantly, be conscious of what you absorb into you, because then you might begin to reflect it out. And we've all been there. Have you not been into, another word? Let's talk about some characteristics. I kind of went past that, about positive and negative energy. And these are words that you should keep in your back in your mind for each. So when you are interacting with people, or in environments or situations, or vice versa, people are interacting with you, these should kind of be things like, here is a good situation that you know this is the right place for you to be. If you find that you are feeling things like generosity, kindness, calm, optimism, enthusiasm, and excitement, that's positive energy at work. When things feel good, remember, it's about things being open and accepting. This is positive energy. But if you find yourself dealing with a person or being in a situation, an environment on the flip side, where it's negative in the sense where it's about feeling closed off, doubtful, uneasiness, uncomfortable, all those kind of things are potentially a red flag that negative energy is flowing your way. And what you do is when you start to feel that uncomfortableness, when you start to feel like this is not a space I want to be in, you got to stop and ask yourself, if all of a sudden things feel judgmental, if I'm feeling insecure, if I'm not satisfied, if I'm feeling, if I'm complaining, that leads to dissension, and dissension is never a good thing. These are all signs that negative energy is right there in your space. And that's when you have to stop, and opposed to feeding into it and giving it back, because it's easy to give it back, to say, what happened in the shift? When I got here, I was in a good mood. Or here's the thing about negative energy. When it's present, especially when you use more positive energy, when you operate from a position of happiness more so. Have you ever woke up and said, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today? What exactly does that mean? It means that you are not feeling or sitting right in your energy. Something about you woke up, which, by the way, it could be how you went to bed. Like I always tell people, be mindful what you go to sleep with. Thoughts, feelings, and even the person next to you. Because it impacts how you sit there and reset yourself overnight. So if you go to bed feeling unhappy, uncomfortable, sad, angry, where do you think that energy goes when you go to sleep? It just kind of digs a little deeper into your consciousness. And then you wake up the next day. And a lot of people are like, I just feel crappy. I'm unhappy today. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'd ask you a question. Did you go to bed on the right side of bed? Or did you, not to say it can't happen sometimes, because we're going to get a little into deeper how there could be some subconscious things at work when you talk about energy. But the key thing is always be mindful of what you let in and out of your mental and emotional space, because it does impact your energy. So we're talking about real talk. So when we talk about waking up on the wrong side of the bed, It's real and it happens. Sometimes we're not going to be brilliant and fabulous every single day. There's no reason to believe that you are. Just like when you hear things like, that person is toxic, this situation is toxic, that's like you flat out saying, you know, this is an unhealthy environment. This person is not good. How many times have you dealt with a person? And these might be people you know personally, because to be honest, you really shouldn't sink a whole lot of effort into people that you're not investing your time and energy that bring something to you or a relationship. Stop over investing in people who don't invest in you the proper way. So, how many times have you said, talking to so-and-so is exhausting? The person comes in the room and you like, oh, shit. I cursed, but you know, that's the emotion you feel. Like, it's like they take the wind out of your sails when you got to deal with somebody. I have a friend I love dearly, but I feel that she is the apex of the drama queen. And I finally told her in our last exchange, look, this situation you just brought to me, we've talked about this situation with this person 3 times. And nothing has changed. There's a pattern of behavior with this person. Yet you keep behaving as if something's going to change when for the last 5 years, say it, 5 years, they've shown you exactly who they are. What's that great meme I got to find? Stop looking for the good in people and look at people for what they show you. And I looked at her and I said, you need to go to therapy because you are very comfortable with abuse, or there's something about toxicity that just really does it for you. And of course, she looked at me and I haven't talked to her in a couple of days. But real talk, I got tired of having the same conversation and I was just like, ugh. It was the energy. I didn't care for it. I was like, here comes some negative stuff. Here it comes. But it's repeated negative stuff. It was toxic to me. And I finally told her about it. That's what, if a person is really your friend, you should be able to tell them, or if you're in a serious relationship with somebody or a relationship that matters, you should be able to tell them when something is sideways, especially if it's about being toxic or dramatic. I'm not one for that. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not. But some people will bring that to you, and that's that negative energy flow. And the funny thing about it is, if you were to meet this person, she comes across as a very positive energy person, but under the surface, at the core of what's going on with her, it's not as positive as it looks. And often people who are not positive, you'll get those flashes of their insecurity, their doubt. It will show up. So real talk, just know there's going to be times where everything is not going to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. No, life happens and we get thrown a curveball. The question is, what do you do with it? Okay, even if it was your 3rd strike, yes, it's baseball season. Even if it was your 3rd strike, okay, guess what? You're going to get another time at the plate. What did you learn about the pitcher? Did you do your homework? Did you know this person's a slider? He's a cutter? That kind of stuff. I'm talking sports, and people are probably like, what? But I'm just saying, for my baseball people, you know, you do your homework as a hitter. You learn what is a pitcher's best pitch. That's life. Learn the semantics of what you're dealing with and deal with it accordingly. And so you're going to get negative situations that are going to happen. There's going to be times when you're going to be depressed and sad. But the important part of that is you have to know that these things can be short-term or they can be long-term. You get to decide how you're going to let these things interact or impact your life. Short-term impacts, or I'm just going to wallow in it and make it a long-term impact. That's real talk. Stuff is going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and just say this. Life is not fair. And I feel like everybody listening to this podcast by now, really, real talk, knows that life's not fair. So stop telling yourself that it is, or don't get angry when it's not, because that's the way that the world is stacked. And those are the people who are being successful. A lot of people have been dealt some crappy cards. I'm going to tell you that. But they never gave up on feeling like they could change the trajectory of their life because they are now their architects, not someone else. Hard work, hard choices. See, that's the issue with most people. They don't want to do the heavy lifting, so they'd rather say, woe is me, even when they've got people in their corner trying to advocate and be the support that they need. But they don't want to do the heavy lifting. If you're looking for someone else to still be doing your heavy lifting with the emotional and mental pieces and things of that nature, then you're not working to be the best version of yourself. You're not. Because you're not committing to do the work that you need to do to get to where you want to be, not where somebody else wants you to be, but where you want to be. So I feel like if you're not doing the work and you're not doing the heavy lifting, then you've made a decision that this is where you're trying to be, right where you at. That's it. That's it. And I feel that way about anybody I'm in therapy with. If we're sitting someplace talking for 45 minutes and week to week I see no shifts or changes, even though you have become aware of the situation, you understand the work that has to be done, at that point, there's nothing more I can do for you because you have to make the decision to do the work. And I'll be honest, sometimes it hurts. No, a lot of times it hurts, not sometimes. The real difficult things to do are unpleasant and they often hurt. But over time, as you move towards where you're trying to get to be, those things will dissipate. It's the short term because you're doing the work for the long haul, the long term. That's real talk. And I like to be honest with people because people believe as therapists and counselors that we should just make people feel like this is going to be easy as pie. First of all, I don't know who came up with that because pie is not easy to make. So that right there in itself is wrong. But the real issue is that you have to know that it's going to be uncomfortable, whatever it is you're dealing with. It's uncomfortable when you're dealing with it. So imagine trying to undo it, how uncomfortable that it is. All right, let's talk about some types of energy domains, okay? So there's really 3 areas where energy kind of flows, kind of moves in and out, okay? We got that people domain, and that's that domain we can sense when a person is positive or negative. And this exists for positive and negative. So we can sense when a person's positive and negative, and it may be verbal and nonverbal cues. It could be their words, actions, and behaviors. Let's be honest. We can generally spot a positive and negative person a mile away. And we use different terminologies like toxic, attitude problem, need an attitude adjustment. Sometimes we use the word attitude, but underneath there's an energy because they're exuding something about them that's negative. So we know exactly how to spot negative people. Here's my question. Can you spot when you are being negative? When you're being the person that's sending a nonverbal cue, or your words or actions or behaviors are kind of eliciting some negativity. See, this is where that emotional intelligence piece comes in, and you should be able to say, oh, why did I say that? Okay, you know what? Obviously, you got the best of me. I'm in my feelings. Those are all things that are referring to like what's happening with your energy. I'm in my feelings, which means chances are you're not in your feelings in a positive place. You're not. So that's when you got to say, pump the brakes. Why am I in my feelings? What part of my control, by the way, another podcast about taking back control, what part of me have I given over control that someone has elicited this type of emotion from me? Because I got thoughts and beliefs about anger, hate, happiness, whatever. And now my feeling is I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm disconnected. So people, including you, we sense this. That's one domain where positive and negative energy also exists. Another one, and this is a huge one because the word environments is so encompassing of so much of our lives. You've got work environments. You've got personal environments like family and friends. You've got romantic relationships, all those kind of things. Those are environments. Social environments. There's so many different levels to environments. But the key thing, if it's places, and mind you, if it's a place, it's probably not a singular place because it means within that space, within that place, it usually includes people, animals, etc. I include animals because I got cats. So I figured, we should just give the animals some credit for being around. But places, even though, unless you've ever just walked into, and I've done this before. Have you ever just walked into a space and there was nobody there and it just didn't feel good? It just didn't have a good vibe about it? That happens sometimes. And then somebody else says, you know something? I felt the exact same way when I was there. There's something to be said about when people collectively can feel a negativity in a space, just the physical space itself, because spaces hold energy as well. Energy is something that scientifically is still being researched about the impact of it. That we see it as it's kind of like dark matter in space. Space is filled up of more dark matter than anything else. It's the one thing you can't see, but it influences so many things. So energy, I guarantee you in 100 years from now, when we have different ways to quantify the intangibility of the energy, we're going to come to find that where it exists in different spaces was really unique. We're not there yet. So we just have to kind of go with that unspoken sixth sense that we walk into a space and go, I'm not liking this. And I've done that before. I'm not liking this. I think I'm going to go. I'll give you an example of how it happened for me. I used to be an avid bike rider for a while on trails. And one day I was always very conscious about going to certain trails because I realized that some of them could be safe and I would generally ride alone. And I go to a trail one day and I'm getting my bike out. And when I pull up, I'm just not feeling good about it. I'm like, and I thought it was maybe because I didn't want to ride that day, like I was just being lazy, but I hadn't gotten out in a while. I'm like, no, I'm going to ride. So I got my trunk over, I'm changing my shoes, and this SUV pulls up next to me. Now, mind you, I'm already not feeling good. The energy was wrong for me. And, empty lot pretty much. And this guy pulls up next to me, like parks right next to me. And he's like, in his creepy way, he's like, hey, do you need some help? And I was like, no, I'm good. I kept going about my business. And he's like, are you sure? And I had this knot at the pit of my stomach. And I stopped what I was doing. I hadn't even taken my bike out yet. Didn't change my shoes. I shut the trunk and I left. And I have not been back on my bike like in 2 years since that happened. There was an energy when I came to that space, and I'd biked that trail a million times, but that day it didn't feel right. When he pulled up, it didn't feel right. You know what didn't feel right? He parked right next to me. That's what didn't feel right. It was an energy about the whole situation, the environment, and the person that was negative, and I left. That's the kind of thing. Energy is very intuitive. You should never ignore when you get that gut feeling. Your spidey senses are tingling. Something isn't right. That's the thing about negative energy. It tends to let you know it's there more so than positive. It kicks its way through the door like, guess what? I'm here. This is what's happening. I'm about to tear and mess everything up, because negative energy is about chaos. It's there. The question is, do you constantly turn a blind eye to it, or do you make excuses or exceptions for people or sometimes yourself for exuding it? So environments are key. Work environments, a lot of people will say, I feel like, I hate going to work. It drains me when I come here. That's negative energy. The question is it the actual environment, the culture, the people? Like, what makes you hate going to work so much? You need to explore that, because part of finding happiness, as we talked about last week, is your workspace should be a place where you can find happiness because of how much time we spend at work. So if you're going to a place where you're dedicating 8 to 10 hours, some people do more than that a day, and you hate it and you're miserable, this is impacting your ability to truly be happy. So you got to figure out, if you don't like your workplace, is it your boss? Is it the actual workplace? Some people will be like, I like where I work, but just some of the people there. Well, maybe you can find a way to work around that. So environments are key. The unseen, and this is like that internal dialogue, aka self-talk. It's the unspoken thoughts and words, emotions, which then are tied to feelings, that manifest in your energy, whether positive or negative. So this is like where you get, those people that negative energy. It always seeks to create chaos, like I said, and to be deceitful and very much dissension. So if you're constantly having negative thoughts, there's no way that it can manifest itself into positive. And this is often tied to people who have trauma, who have experienced so many bad things, maybe had a very abusive childhood or came from like an abusive relationship, that they have this internal conversation where they believe that nothing good can ever happen. They believe every action they set out to put into motion is going to have a negative outcome. They see no silver lining. So the internal conversation, that unseen, which drives the emotional, which then creates the feeling, is already negative. That's probably the most dangerous of these three domains, because if you think negative, you have to begin to untrain yourself to think that way. And depending upon what has taken you to that place of such a negative existence, it may take way more work than you ever expected. But it's not like it's impossible. None of this is not impossible. It's just a matter of, do you want to do the heavy lifting? And for some people, that's hard, because it means they may have to revisit, review, relive some things that they don't want to relive. But what's interesting is they may not want to relive it, but they don't realize how much they're living it every single day, because it's taken control of their life and their thinking and their feeling and their emotions. So it's still in control, and you refusing to deal with it only gives it more control. This is where seeing a therapist or a counselor can be really helpful to help you navigate it. And it's not something that you maybe can always talk to a friend about or a family member. Sometimes you need an unbiased person who knows nothing about you to be able to share the experience and to really talk about it. And that's the one thing I think people struggle with, is being able to open up and share. But what's interesting is, you'd be surprised, it may not be as difficult as you think it is, especially if you find the right person, so to speak, to do it with. So the unseen is really a dangerous thing. It is. Remember I made the thing and I said, I'm gonna come back to this because this will be our real talk time, the second one for the show. And I want to reiterate this because now we talked about all this framework about positive and negative energy. And I'm gonna bring this back to the top again. Negative energy seeks to create chaos, doubt, and dissension. It seeks to destroy order, balance, and productivity. And if you ever think about negative situations you've been in, what was the outcome? It usually ended with something being ruined, something being destroyed, something coming undone. I'll say it again, and you need to really think about this. Negative energy creates chaos, it creates doubt and dissension. And it tries to destroy, if you're not mindful of what's happening, order, balance, and productivity. Think about that. Because we often don't think about how our actions and words or people's others' actions and words legitimately can put us in a negative space. And we spiral. And doesn't it feel like when you're spiraling, it's harder to get back up than it was to fall? Because that's the thing about negativity. The power in negativity is so strong. It's like, if you happen to be a Star Wars fan, it's like the Force. The Force is good, it's powerful. But look how controlling, and this is truly about energy, the Force, the dark side is. How controlling and how literally it has broken down positivity in the Force. It's really interesting. I mean, so in so many different things in pop culture, this very topic about positive, negative energy has been the driving conversations and many narratives that we've seen. We just don't stop to really kind of take it down to like the bare essence of what it is. But it is about chaos, doubt, and dissension. That's what negativity is about, and with energy. And you can sense that in others. The question is what you do with it. But I want you to be more mindful when you become the catalyst for negative energy. Because then you are clearly impacting people around you, relationships, maybe at work, within, family dynamics, friendships, environments. You then may go to work and your negativity. And it's interesting. There was once a conversation that happened about people bringing their negativity to work. And I'm sure you've probably heard in some places that are really serious about their professional culture, they're like, please check your negativity at the door. And some people will go as far as to put up signs in different places of their, of the workplace, trying to encourage people to think positive. Because what people don't realize, it takes one person to come in with a negative attitude. And it's like, it can just absolutely just take over an entire room of people. And that's crazy how one person can influence the energy unless you've got balance, unless you've got someone who can be like, hey, yo, bro, real talk. What's going on? I mean, I had a person, I just did that at work maybe a couple months ago. There was a fellow employee who was really disgruntled about her situation. And it was all, you could see it, the way she was talking to people. It's not my job. I'm not doing this. I mean, like really been out of shape. Not the person who I'd come to know, who was always a really positive person. So she had come back to my area and was kind of bringing that with her. And I said, she walked away and I walked behind her. And I said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And she was like, yeah. I said, please don't take this the wrong way. I said, but I'm noticing a change in you lately. I said, you seem very angry, you're upset. And I know a person who's usually happy and smiling and saying positive things to other people. I said, where did that person go? What has happened? And she looked at me and started crying. And she goes, oh, girl, can I talk to you? And then we went to another room. Here it goes, Maya being the therapist at work, which happens quite a bit, but I don't mind. I like that people trust in me and confide in me. That makes me very comfortable. And we talked about it and kind of worked through some things. And I just kind of made some recommendations, not as a therapist, but as a person who was her coworker. I said, this is not a good thing to do in the workplace because though people know something's wrong, all they're going to see is this negative facade that you're putting out there. It doesn't matter if we know you not to be that person. And then we parted. And then 2 days later, I saw her back at work and she said, thank you for saying something to me. Because I was just so angry. I said, well, yeah, people let you walk around and make a fool of yourself and ruin your reputation and character at work. They don't care. I said, but I just knew something was wrong because you're not being you. Negative energy. And all it took was someone willing to challenge it and give back something positive. But that's whether you gotta decide how you work with that when you work with people, because you may not be able to have that conversation. Maybe you can. I mean, now we live in a very sensitive situation in the workplace, so you may think you're doing something positive with somebody and you may end up in HR. So I would say, legitimately be careful. Make sure you feel like you can say that. I knew I could say that to her because we had worked together. We'd had some very in-depth conversations beyond that moment. So I felt comfortable saying something to her. And I've done it with other people. Like, hey, excuse me, you okay? Just because this is not what I'm used to seeing. What's going on with you? That's what being a true friend or even a good coworker is. Because people can't shut their pain off when they just come to work. They try to. But a lot of times it permeates to their work. And I'll be honest, if work is bad, often it comes home with people and it permeates in those relationships in their home and creates issues, chaos, and dissension in the home. So striking that balance, that's what positive energy is about. It's about balance and equity in certain things. And a lot of times people don't get that because anger and hate are very strong. They're very strong. And it's one of the easiest emotions and feelings to call into action. You'd be like, anger, are you ready? I need you front and center. Yes. Before you finish the sentence, it's right there with you. It's popped out your mouth. And now you're reacting, not responding. And now you got cleanup work to do. It's kind of craziness. So since we had some real talk about knowing what it does, how can we spot negative energy? This works for you. And this works for evaluating other people when you're trying to make sure your energy space is good. 1, criticism. Criticism is about creating intentional discomfort through blame or other negative mechanisms of control. So if you find someone is constantly critical of you, if you find that you are constantly critical of someone, just because you may need to tell somebody that's factual based or it's a real situation that needs to be addressed does not mean you need to be critical in the conversation. Hence comes back the art of conversation, which is another episode, by the way. But a lot of people don't know how to give positive feedback. I think the word criticism is just a bad word. Positive feedback or neutral feedback or just feedback without it being critical or criticism. So it's about how you set the conversation up. So if you find you are constantly critical about everything and everyone, your negative energy meter is really high. You're not hitting that positive negative energy where you need to be. You're high. So like I said, if you're often very critical, guess what? You're not on that. You see this little meter right here, this gauge? You're not high on that gauge. You're on the opposite side. And you need to be able to call yourself out like, whoa, I just noticed like lately I've been negative about everything. Why is that? What's going on with me? 2, if you find you're constantly complaining, if you rarely see the good in anything, there's no silver lining, most situations are expected to have an undesirable outcome. If you can see the good in nothing, you are swimming in negativity. And the question is why? And usually if it's constant complaining, there's probably a lot of underlying work that you need to do, because if you see no good in anything, that's bad. That means you haven't experienced enough joy at some point to know that the good does come with the bad and there can be more good. So that's something that can be really complicated, but you first have to recognize these things before you can shift and make a change. Here's signs that you know you're being impacted by negative energy. And this can be you as well as other people. This goes both ways. So if you find you're feeling restless a lot, nervous, frequent headaches, stomach aches, fatigue and exhaustion, if you're always breathing heavy, confusion and tension, like your muscles are always tight, sudden mood switches, anxiety or depression, real talk. Now, mind you, the thing about mental wellness that's interesting is because a lot of these are signs of depression. Guess what? Negative energy does kind of funnel itself into depression and anxiety. On one episode, I think it was in self-advocacy, where I had on a guest, and we talked about this. I said, if you hold negative energy in, it will manifest itself in other ways. Which are these kind of ways? Poor sleep, negativity, headaches, because energy will find its way out whether you let it out or not. So you can choose to let it out in a very positive, functional way, or you can choose to let it find its own way out, which is clawing its way out, which is never good. So just know if you constantly feel these ways, you got to stop and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel restlessness and nervous all the time and headaches, and it's constant all the time? There's an answer for it. And here's what's interesting. You may go to the doctor and say, I have this nagging headache I can't get rid of. And they may be like, oh, what's going on? Only to find out they feel like it's very somatic. Like your headache is not rooted in anything organic or medical based. It's more psychological. It's cognitive. And then it might be, so what's going on? This is why now in private practice, when you go to your general practitioner, it's called a pH-16. Why they actually do a questionnaire where they're looking to see if people are depressed, suicidal, and anxious. because they realize it can manifest itself in all these ways somatically and have no organic actual medical reason that they can treat. Hence, then you get the referral to go see a psychiatrist or a therapist, and then people get in their feelings. They're like, it's a headache. Okay, it's real. It happens all the time, and people really struggle with it. So those are ways or signs that if you keep having these reoccurring things, you should say, perhaps I need to review this more. Wrapping it up, how can you create space for positive energy to thrive? This is pretty straightforward. Surround yourself with uplifting people. So if you know a person is toxic, dramatic, you may want to distance yourself from that. Be in the moment, which means you're aware of how your energy is flowing. Invest and embrace compassion and kindness. When you work at being compassionate, empathetic, and kind, you are working on the side of positivity. And that means you are pushing away negativity. And then lastly, invest in things that bring you joy. Do those things. Go play golf. Go to a concert. Write music, Miriam. All those things. Find what makes you happy and joy and invest in it. Because we will often invest in other people before we invest in ourselves. Those are basic ways to try to create environments that are positive to thrive in your energy. So final thoughts. Where your energy goes, your focus will follow. You tend to kind of hear it the other way. Tony Robbins kind of coined that. And I kind of feel a little different about it because I feel a bit different. And I feel it's more about where your energy goes, flows, your focus will follow. So if you are feeling positive, if you're feeling open and creative and good, your focus is going to take you towards those things that make that happen. I don't feel it's the opposite way. I don't feel it's that I'm focused and my energy goes there, but it can. Because you know what? It's kind of like a give and take. So when your energy is flowing the right way and it's positive and your focus is on point, then you're putting all your right energy into maintaining that. So it depends on how you look at it. But I believe the start of the energy flowing in the right direction towards positivity is going to be the thing that allows for your focus to be established. So they kind of are very hand in hand. Keep this in mind as we wrap up the show and go to Miriam. Motivation is what gets you there. Habits is why you continue. And creating that habit of positive energy will always keep you moving forward towards being the best version of you and experiencing that daily happiness that we talked about. All right. So that's episode 31, the power and purpose of energy. So now let's go ahead and switch to my favorite part of the show. Not hearing me talk, but hearing Miriam sing. Let's bring on Miriam McQueen, M.A.Y.A Musical Muse. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. So, oddly enough, I'm not saying this just to be facetious. I listened to the song, and I feel like it kind of works with the theme. It's about putting your energy towards that thing that makes you happy, seeking it out, putting your focus there. So I was like, that's how I see it. And I don't feel like I'm reaching for that either. I kind of
No, you're not. I was like, why do we keep doing this? Why does this keep happening?
How does this keep happening? I don't understand.
I don't understand. It's perfect. It makes me happy.
All right. Perfect. So this one is Take Me to Your Leader. This is the final song on the EP, correct?
Yes.
Kind of tell me the motivation behind writing this.
Motivation. I wanted to do a kind of poppy dance song that's not usually my forte. Okay. Singer-songwriter wise, I'm in my feelings and I'm just, talking about all of that stuff, and I'm not usually feeling like dancey and poppy all the time. So I wanted to challenge myself with this song, and so I wrote Take Me to Your Leader, and the idea popped in my mind. And I got so excited about it, producing wise and everything. This is honestly probably my favorite song on the EP. It makes me happy, and it's a good energy. It's a good energy song.
It is a good energy song, and I love the fact that in doing your projects, you keep challenging yourself.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to do something that's outside my comfort zone. Yeah. And then you're like,
it was extremely outside of my comfort zone.
And I would say this is definitely different than the other 4 songs that we've heard. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and drop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here you go. This is from Heart of Gold, her EP. This is Take Me to Your Leader, Miriam McQueen, the M.A.Y.A Musical Muse.
Yeah.
I wanna just dance. I wanna maybe take a chance, maybe start to feel if I wanted to. I wanna just wait, I wanna go back and forth and back again all day. I wanna feel the high, so bring me really low, just a little more, 'cause I want you. I just wanna feel my heart beating, beating fast. Show me what you know, baby, don't turn back. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, dance, dance all night. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, 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 alright. Take me to your leader. Oh, I just wanna, I'm gonna move until my feet hurt. Keep moving, grooving, don't let me stop till my body gives out. I'm gonna keep moving around, round, 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 round. I wanna just move, I wanna feel the vibration vibrate in you. I wanna throw my arms deep into the sky. Show me how to fly, just for tonight. I just wanna feel my heart beating, beating fast. Show me what you know, baby, don't turn back. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, dance, dance all night. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, 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 alright. Take me to your leader. Oh, I just wanna, I'm gonna move until my feet hurt. Keep moving, grooving, don't let me stop till my body gives out. I'm gonna keep moving around. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, dance, dance all night. Take me to your leader, show me what I need, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance, 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 alright.
There it was. That was the final song of her Heart of Gold EP. Take Me to Your Leader. See, you can't see us. We were back here dancing as the song was playing. You're right. It's, you know what? Miriam was right. It's different, but I like it. It's very poppy. I was having this vision of like this video, kind of like 80s or 90s, sort of. I don't know. Just it has that poppy feel to it. Good stuff. So make sure you follow Miriam on Instagram, Twitter, all those places at Miriam McQueen, and go to her website, miriammcqueen.com. You can find her songs, iTunes, Spotify, all those places that you can download it. So go ahead, support. You know, everybody is big into supporting independence and, you know, everyone who's doing something different in the pandemic. So support, go buy her EP stuff on iTunes and Spotify. You won't break the bank. If you can GoFundMe for somebody putting glue in their hair, you can go pay like $5 to get her EP. I'm just saying. Okay, Maya, that was so judgmental of you, but I mean that. Anyways, so that's great. So make sure you check out Miriam. Like I said, go to miriammcqueen.com, but you can find all this stuff in iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. All right, everybody, that is it for episode 31, The Power and Purpose of Energy. I hope I connected with people. I hope you understood the importance of this, why really getting in touch with how energy manifests for you and by you is really important when you're out there making decisions. So remember, if you happen to miss this episode, you know, you're here, so you probably didn't, but maybe you're catching it later. So go catch some of the other episodes because they're all kind of working up with each other. You can always go to MA.A.com. There will be some podcast companion things. So once you go to MA.A.com, just go to the podcast resource section, click on episode 31. And have some additional things you can read to kind of flesh out and give more insight into this topic. You may have watched me on Facebook, but of course you can always subscribe to my YouTube channel, M.A.Y.A, as well. But if you happen to have a podcast platform of choice, okay, I won't hold it against you. That's fine. You can always find me on iTunes, iHeart, I'm on Spotify, as well as Amazon. Audibles are always that you can tune in and watch the show. All right, everybody, that is it for me. Thank you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate all the support and people sharing. The show is growing exponentially, so it's all because you're listening and sharing it on your page with different people. Just remember that I always say this to you, that the present becomes your past and your future is no more. And I say that because that means you should live every day to the fullest, because every moment of your life is actually the future about to happen. And once it's gone, it's your past. And you never get to get a do-over. So if you think about it and you're conscious, it means every moment, every daily moment could be a building block for you to get to those larger things that you want to accomplish. All right, I will see you all next week. I think it's going to be pretty much great weather everywhere, but if it's not, mentally you can tell yourself it's sunny somewhere, right? And go with that. All right, everybody, I will see you next week. Have a good one. Be safe, be well, be blessed.
Get inspired, get motivated with M.A.Y.A and the M.A.Y.A, My Ambition, Your Ambition podcast.
Something that I take pride in is trying to be forward thinking, thinking outside the box, challenging myself. And as I challenge myself, hopefully I challenge you.
Find M.A.Y.A on Twitter and Instagram at M.A.Y.A_Akai. On Facebook at M.A.Y.A Akai Presents.
We're going to talk health, wealth, fitness, mental health, financial, lots of different things that can empower you as you seek out the ambition that you're pursuing.
Or get everything M.A.Y.A at M.A.Y.A Akai.com.